The deep silence of space was broken by a sudden alarm inside the research station Erebus 9. The crew had detected an object drifting near the orbit of a dead planet. It was not a rock, not a satellite, and not a known ship model. It moved slowly, turning under weak gravity, as if it had been floating there for years. The station scanners tried to identify it, but no signal came back. The readings were strange. The material was unknown. The command officer, a calm-looking alien with grey scales, ordered the retrieval team to bring it in. "If it's debris, we recycle it. If it's life, we study it," he said coldly. Within an hour, the object was pulled into the docking bay. As the fog of the airlock cleared, the crew saw that it was an escape pod, old, burned, and full of scars from plasma fire. Its design was unlike anything in the known galaxy. Even the ship's AI could not trace the technology. "No match in any galactic archive," the AI reported. The scientists gathered around, whispering. Something about it felt wrong. The metal was warm to the touch, though it had been in space for decades. When they forced open the hatch, thick smoke poured out, followed by a strange, heavy silence. Inside lay a man. He was human in shape, but something about him looked different, too perfect, too symmetrical. His skin was pale and unmarked, his breathing calm, though the air around him was toxic to human life. Dr. Elira, the lead scientist, ordered him to be taken to the medbay immediately. The scanners began their work, checking for species data. The results came in seconds later, and the screen turned red. Error. DNA pattern not found. No known species match, the AI said. Elira frowned and rechecked the system. Again, the same message. "Maybe corrupted data?" another scientist asked. "No," Elira whispered, staring at the display. "This code, it's not corrupted. It's impossible." The man's cells were active, but their structure was beyond anything recorded. It was as if his DNA was constantly changing, rewriting itself. The deeper the analysis went, the stranger it became. There were traces of human genes, but also sequences unknown to science. As they worked, the alien guards outside began to feel uneasy. Their instincts screamed danger. One of them, a tall reptilian soldier, said quietly, "Commander, permission to leave this sector. That thing in there, it feels wrong." The commander refused. "You are trained soldiers. It's just a man." But even he could feel the tension. The air around the medbay felt heavy, like a storm waiting to break. Inside, Elira watched as the man's body temperature rose by itself. Machines flickered and failed. The lights dimmed for a second, as if the energy was being pulled toward him. Then, suddenly, his eyes opened. They glowed faintly, a soft white light reflecting off the glass walls. He looked around the room, confused, then stared at Elira. "Where am I?" he asked in a quiet voice. Everyone froze. His accent was human, but his tone was calm, too calm. "You're safe," Elira said carefully. "You're on Erebus 9, a research station. We found your escape pod drifting near Zeta Prime." The man blinked slowly. "Zeta Prime," he repeated, like he was trying to remember something. "That system is dead." Elira's breath caught. "Yes, it was destroyed over 300 years ago. How do you know that?" He didn't answer. He looked at his own hands, turning them over, as if seeing them for the first time. "How long was I asleep?" he asked. Elira said softly, "We don't know. Your pod has no records." The man closed his eyes for a moment, as if listening to something only he could hear. The room's sensors flickered again. The AI spoke up suddenly. "Warning, unidentified energy source detected. Origin, subject in Chamber 1. Elira looked at the screen. His body was producing energy, low but steady, like a small reactor. She took a step back. The commander entered the room. "Is he dangerous?" he asked. Elira hesitated. "I don't think so, but his biology defies logic. His DNA matches no known species. Yet he speaks like a human." The commander frowned. "That's not possible. Humans died out centuries ago." The man looked up. "Died out?" His voice was cold, almost emotionless. "Then who are you?" The commander ignored the question and called for a containment field. Until we know what he is, he stays here. Guards surrounded the room, weapons ready. The man didn't resist. He only looked at the glowing field around him and said quietly, "You should not have woken me." That single sentence sent chills through the room. The RE's systems began to fail again. The ship's lights flickered twice. One guard muttered, "Sir, sensors show high-level fear signals across all species on board." The commander's eyes widened. "Explain." "Every non-human lifeform on the station is reacting to him as if he's a natural predator," the guard said. Even Elira felt it now, a strange, instinctive fear deep inside her, like her body knew something her mind didn't. The man sat silently, eyes closed, breathing slow and calm. His presence felt heavy, almost ancient. Then, without warning, the entire ship shook. Alarms went off. "Unidentified vessel approaching," the AI announced. "Multiple signatures, Predator-class ships." The commander turned to Elira. "Did they track that pod?" She shook her head. No signal came from it. The man opened his eyes again and looked toward the ceiling, as if he could see through it. "They're not here for you," he said. "They are here for me." Everyone stared at him. "Who are you?" Elira asked again, her voice trembling. He looked at her with eyes that seemed far older than they should be. "I don't know," he said softly. "But every predator remembers me." The words hung in the air, cold and final. Outside, the predator ships stopped moving. Their weapons went silent. They had come ready for war, but now they simply waited. No one understood why. Inside the medbay, the man sat quietly, a faint light glowing under his skin. The fear on the station grew thicker with every passing second. Elira watched him, heart pounding. Somewhere deep inside, she realized the truth. Whatever this man was, he wasn't just another survivor. He was something ancient. Something the universe had tried to forget. And now, he was awake again. The research station Erebus 9 drifted silently in orbit around the dead planet, its hull glowing faintly under the dim light of a distant sun. Inside, every creature aboard felt the same strange tension, a pressure that words could not describe. It started the moment the man from the escape pod had opened his eyes. Since then, no one had been able to rest. Fear, quiet and invisible, spread through the corridors like a virus. The scientists tried to continue their work, but their hands shook whenever they saw his image on the monitors. The guards refused to enter the medbay alone. Even the RE's voice had begun to sound uncertain, as if the machine itself could sense what the others felt. Dr. Elira stood near the observation glass, staring at the man who sat motionless in his containment room. He hadn't spoken again since the night he woke up. He just sat there, eyes closed, breathing slowly, like someone waiting for something to happen. His vital signs were normal, yet every scan showed impossible results. His cells regenerated faster than any known species. His blood carried energy signatures similar to plasma. His DNA continued to rewrite itself in patterns that no computer could predict. Every test returned the same warning: unstable, unknown composition. Elira felt like she was looking at the universe's biggest secret, and it scared her. The commander entered the lab, his expression hard and cold. "Any progress?" he asked. Elira shook her head. "He's stable, but nothing makes sense. His biology breaks every rule we know. He could be a new species, or something older." The commander frowned. "Older than what?" She hesitated. "Older than life as we know it." The commander didn't respond. He turned toward the glass. "He doesn't look dangerous," he muttered. Elira gave a nervous laugh. "Predators never look dangerous until they move." Just then, the man opened his eyes and looked straight at the commander through the thick glass. For a moment, it felt as if the whole room stopped breathing. The lights dimmed slightly, and the air temperature dropped a few degrees. The man's gaze was calm but heavy, as if he could see straight through the commander's soul. Slowly, he stood up and walked toward the glass. His movements were silent, smooth, almost too perfect. "You're afraid," he said softly. His voice was calm, but it carried a strange echo, as if two people were speaking at once. The commander stiffened. "No, I'm cautious." The man smiled faintly. "Good. You should be." Elira's heart raced. She took a step closer. Do you remember anything about yourself? Your name, your home, anything? He frowned slightly, as if searching through fog. I remember light, he said slowly. And fire. The sound of screaming. Then silence. I don't know if it was a battle or a dream. He looked down at his hands. Everything after that is blank. The AI interrupted, its voice tense. Warning. Sudden increase in electromagnetic energy within containment cell. The man sighed and sat back down. Instantly, the readings returned to normal. I don't mean to harm you, he said quietly. But something in me reacts to fear. The commander glanced at Elira. React how? The man's eyes glowed faintly again. It wakes things up, he whispered. Things that should stay asleep. Silence filled the room. Outside, through the windows, the distant predator ships still floated in orbit, unmoving. They had made no contact, no threats, no action. It was as if they were waiting for permission. The commander finally spoke. Why are those ships here? Why are they afraid of you? The man didn't answer immediately. He closed his eyes, his voice barely above a whisper. They remember what I am. The commander slammed his fist on the table. Enough riddles. What are you? The man opened his eyes again, calm as ever. I don't know, he said. You think I'm lying, but I truly don't. All I know is that I was never meant to wake up. Elira felt a chill crawl up her spine. His tone wasn't proud or angry, it was sad. Like someone remembering a promise that had already been broken. She turned to the commander. Sir, maybe we should treat him as a survivor, not a prisoner. Whatever he is, he hasn't attacked anyone. The commander shook his head. Not yet. But everything about him screams danger. Look around, half the crew has requested transfer. Even the AI refuses to stay online for long when he's active. Elira opened her mouth to argue, but before she could, the lights flickered again. A low hum filled the air. The man stood once more, his gaze turning toward the ceiling. Something's coming, he said. The Ari's voice returned, louder now. Unidentified anomaly detected near orbit. Gravitational field distortion increasing. The commander rushed to the console. Show me. The main screen came alive, showing a massive shadow moving through the void. It wasn't a ship, not exactly. It was something alive, massive, and old. The predator ships began to scatter, moving out of its path. The commander whispered, What is that? The man's voice came softly. A memory, he said. They fear me because they remember what I once did to them. Elira turned to him, fear and curiosity fighting inside her. What did you do? He looked at her with eyes that glowed like faint stars. I ended them, he said simply. The commander raised his weapon. That's enough. The man didn't move. You can shoot me, he said quietly. It won't matter. You can't kill what doesn't belong to this time. The commander hesitated, finger on the trigger, then lowered his weapon. Deep down, he knew the truth. This man could destroy them if he wanted to. The energy readings around the cell started to rise again, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. Outside, the great shadow stopped moving. The Ari's voice trembled. Predator fleet disengaging. Unknown entity retreating. The room went silent. The man exhaled slowly, the glow fading from his skin. It's gone, he said. For now. Elira whispered, Did you protect us? He shook his head. No. I reminded them. Reminded them of what? She asked. He looked up at her, eyes distant and full of sorrow. That humans were never prey. Then he turned away, sitting back down, eyes closing once more. Elira stood frozen, heart pounding, realizing that maybe, just maybe, this man was the last echo of something far greater than anyone on Erebus 9 could imagine. The silence after the retreat of the Predator fleet hung heavy over the Erebus 9 station. No one spoke. No one dared to move. The crew stood frozen, eyes fixed on the screen where moments ago hundreds of hostile ships had hovered in formation. Now they were gone, fleeing into the blackness of space like frightened animals. It was something no one had ever seen before. Predators never retreated. Not from war, not from threats, and certainly not from one unarmed man sitting inside a containment chamber. The commander leaned forward, staring at the fading blips on the monitor. They ran, he whispered, almost in disbelief. They actually ran. The AI confirmed, its tone unsteady. Enemy fleet has exited the system. No pursuit detected. Dr. Elira looked at the man through the glass wall of the containment cell. He sat perfectly still, eyes closed, hands resting on his knees, as if he hadn't moved at all since the incident began. The glow under his skin had faded, but the feeling of dread in the room had not. The air felt thick, heavy, as though the station itself was afraid. Elira finally broke the silence. Why would they retreat? They outnumbered us. They could have destroyed the station in seconds. The commander turned sharply toward her. You tell me, Doctor. You're the scientist here. She hesitated. They were afraid. Not of us, but of him. The commander's jaw tightened. He didn't want to admit it, but he knew she was right. Every instinct screamed that the man was something beyond comprehension. Something ancient. Something powerful. Elira's voice dropped to a whisper. They recognized him. The commander exhaled slowly. He said they would. He said they remember him. The AI interrupted again. Energy levels in containment chamber dropping to normal. No further anomalies detected. The commander rubbed his forehead. Good. Keep him under watch. No one talks to him unless I say so. Elira nodded, but her curiosity burned stronger than her fear. That night, while the station drifted in quiet orbit, Elira stayed alone in the lab, replaying the footage of the Predator ships retreating. She watched their movements frame by frame. Each time their sensors locked onto the man, they froze, then turned away as if obeying some buried instinct. It wasn't technology. It was fear, raw, ancient fear. She zoomed in on the man's face as he looked up during the encounter. For a split second, the video glitched, and something else appeared in his eyes, a reflection of stars collapsing into themselves, like black holes forming inside a gaze. She stepped back from the screen, breathing fast. Who are you? She whispered to the empty room. A soft voice answered from behind her. That's what I want to know too. She spun around. The man stood at the doorway, calm, unarmed, the containment field deactivated. How did you? She began, but he raised a hand gently. You locked me in, but your systems obey me now. I don't know why. Elira froze. You shouldn't be here, she said. He tilted his head slightly. Neither should you. It's late. She gathered her courage. I was studying the Predator's reaction. They were terrified of you. Why? The man walked closer, his bare feet silent on the metal floor. Fear is memory, he said softly. Sometimes even when history dies, fear remains. They don't remember my name, but their blood remembers what I did to them. Elira swallowed hard. And what did you do? He looked at her, and for a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, finally, he said, I stopped them. Once. Long ago. They fed on everything that breathed. I was sent to end them. Sent by who? She asked. His expression darkened. Humans. The word came out quietly but carried the weight of thunder. Elira stepped back. Humans. But they're extinct. They vanished centuries ago. The man's eyes flickered with faint light. Maybe not all of them. She stared at him, stunned. You're saying you're human? He shook his head slowly. I was human once. Now I don't know what I am. Before Elira could reply, the station's alarms began to blare again. The Ari's voice filled the room. Emergency alert. Gravitational disturbance detected. Unknown vessel approaching at high velocity. The commander's voice came through the intercom. Doctor, what's happening? Elira turned to the screen. Something's coming again. The man's gaze went distant. Not them, he said. Something else. The ship trembled violently as the stars outside blurred. A dark tear opened in space, swirling like a wound in the fabric of reality. Lightning-like energy erupted from it, striking nearby asteroids. The AI struggled to maintain stability. Gravity distortion increasing. We are being pulled toward the anomaly. The commander ordered emergency thrusters, but the engines refused to respond. Systems across the station began shutting down. The man stepped forward. "Let me help," he said. The commander appeared on screen, shouting, "Help? You're the reason this is happening." The man shook his head. "No. This is a reaction. The universe remembers me too." Without waiting for permission, he placed his hand on the nearest control panel. Instantly, the lights flickered, and power surged back through the systems. The engines roared to life. "Stabilizing orbit," the AI reported. "Force field resisting gravitational pull." Elira watched in awe. "How are you doing that?" she whispered. The man didn't answer. His eyes glowed brighter, and energy arced from his fingers into the console. The swirling vortex outside began to fade, closing slowly until it vanished completely. The station stopped shaking. The alarms went silent. The man turned away, looking pale but calm. "It's gone." The commander rushed into the lab moments later, eyes wide. "What did you do?" The man replied quietly, "I told it to sleep." "You told it, what?" the commander snapped. "That thing was a wormhole." "No," the man said softly. "It was alive." The room fell silent. Elira could only stare. The man walked back toward his chamber. "You want answers, Commander? So do I. But every time I wake up, something ancient wakes up with me. Maybe that's why I was forgotten." The commander didn't stop him this time. The man stepped inside his cell, sat down, and closed his eyes. His voice came one last time before silence returned. "You think fear comes from weakness. It doesn't. It comes from memory. And they remember me." Elira stood there long after he had gone quiet, staring at the flickering lights of the monitors. For the first time in her life, she realized that fear wasn't always a warning, it could also be history trying to speak. Somewhere deep in the shadows of space, every predator that had fled now whispered a name they could not remember, only feel. A name that meant death. And for the first time, Dr. Elira began to wonder if the legends about humans being dangerous weren't myths after all, but prophecies waiting to wake again. Days passed aboard Erebus 9, but the crew still could not escape the shadow of what had happened. The man from the pod had returned to silence, and yet his presence lingered like gravity itself, unseen, but always felt. The commander had doubled the guards, though deep down he knew it was useless. No weapon on the station could stop the man if he decided to act. The scientist, Dr. Elira, could not focus on her work. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the moment the predator fleet had fled. She saw the energy that pulsed through him, the glow that felt alive, ancient, and terrible. Curiosity slowly began to outweigh her fear. Late at night, when the corridors were empty, she returned to the medbay to study his DNA samples again. Each time she scanned them, the results changed. The sequences rearranged themselves like living code, never repeating the same pattern twice. It was as if his blood carried a memory of its own. She whispered to herself, "You're not just alive, you're rewriting life itself." She tried to trace the origins of his DNA through the galactic database again, linking every known species, extinct or active, but the system froze after a few seconds. A strange message flashed on the screen, "Access denied. Restricted file. Project Primal." Elira frowned. She had never seen this message before. Erebus 9 was one of the most advanced research stations in the galaxy, and she had top clearance. What could possibly be restricted even to her? She overrode the command manually. The file opened slowly, showing fragments of old data, ancient symbols, broken video logs, and a date so old it didn't seem real, year 2310, Earth origin. Her heart skipped a beat. Earth, humans. She played one of the corrupted video clips. Static filled the screen, then a blurred image appeared. A man in an old Earth uniform was speaking urgently into the camera. "The experiment cannot be contained. It's adapting faster than predicted. We called it primal because the screen glitched and cut off." Elira leaned closer, pulse racing. Another fragment loaded. "Was meant to end the war. But it doesn't know limits. It doesn't obey." The file collapsed again into static. She whispered, Project Primal, created by humans. She suddenly understood, this man wasn't a random survivor. He was made. But made for what? She turned as the sound of footsteps echoed behind her. The man was standing at the doorway again, his expression calm but his eyes full of something deep and distant. "You found it," he said softly. She froze. "You knew?" He nodded slowly. "Not everything, but pieces. When you scanned me, you woke things inside my mind. Memories I didn't want." She took a cautious step toward him. "What do you remember?" He looked away, his gaze distant, unfocused. "War. Endless war. Planets burning. We were built to stop it. We were supposed to protect life, but we became its greatest fear." Elira's voice trembled. "You mean, humans created you?" He smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. "They created us, yes. But they didn't control us. The primal program was designed to merge human DNA with something older, something not from this universe. They wanted perfect soldiers, humans who could adapt to any threat, survive any environment, destroy any enemy. And they succeeded. Too well." Elira whispered, "What happened to them?" His eyes darkened. "We happened." Silence fell between them. The hum of the station's engines felt distant, almost muted. Elira's mind raced. If he was telling the truth, then the extinction of humanity wasn't natural, it was deliberate. She asked softly, "Did you kill them?" He shook his head. "Not directly. But they feared us. They tried to erase us. And when the war ended, the universe erased them instead. Now only I remain." Elira's hands trembled. "You were sleeping all this time." "For centuries," he said. "Locked away by those who feared what I could become. I should have stayed asleep." "But why did the predators fear you?" she asked. "They remember my kind," he said. "We ended them once. They thought we were gods. But we were only humans who had forgotten what mercy was." Elira took a deep breath. "If you were created by humans, then you're proof they existed. Proof they were real." "Yes," he said quietly. "And proof of why they should never return." Before she could answer, the lights flickered again. The AI spoke suddenly, its tone full of static. "Warning. Internal data breach detected. Unauthorized access to classified archives." Elira turned to the console. "What's happening?" The man's expression hardened. "They know." "Who knows?" she asked. "The predators. The fleet." "No," he said. "Something older. The keepers of silence." The alarms blared. The commander's voice came through the intercom. "Doctor, containment breach in Sector 4. Systems are failing." Elira looked at the man. "Did you do this?" He shook his head. "They're coming for the truth. They want to erase it again." The station shook violently. Screens shattered. The AI screamed warnings. "Energy anomaly detected inside core reactor. Unknown signal, origin, ancient code." The man's voice cut through the chaos, calm but powerful. "It's them. The ones who made sure the universe forgot humanity." Elira clung to a console as the lights went red. "What do we do?" He turned toward her. "We run. Or we fight." "Fight who?" she asked. "You can't fight ghosts." He looked at her with eyes full of light. "I already did. Once." The commander burst into the room, his weapon drawn. "Doctor, we have to evacuate. The reactor's collapsing." The man stepped forward. "No. If you leave, they'll follow. They'll erase every memory of this place." "Who are you talking about?" the commander demanded. "The wardens," the man said simply. "Machines built to keep history clean. They erase anything that threatens the order of the galaxy." Elira's mind spun. "So they're coming for you?" "For what I represent," he replied. "Proof that humans were never just victims. That we were gods once, and monsters too." The station shook again, harder this time. The man turned to Elira. "You wanted answers. Now you'll get them." But you might not survive them. She stared at him, terrified but unable to look away. Why are you helping us? He smiled faintly. Because somewhere in me, the human part still remembers what it means to care. He stepped forward, placing his hand on the reactor wall. Energy surged through the station, stabilizing it for a moment. The alarms quieted. His voice came soft and distant. Run, Doctor. Tell them humanity existed. Tell them we were not weak. His body began to glow brighter, light spilling from every pore like a living sun. Elira shouted, "Stop! You'll destroy yourself." He looked back one last time, his expression peaceful. I was never meant to last forever. And then he vanished in a burst of light, leaving the station trembling but alive. Elira fell to her knees, tears in her eyes, realizing she had just witnessed the memory of the oldest secret in the galaxy, the last echo of human power, awakening after centuries of silence. The explosion of light that followed his disappearance left Erebus 9 drifting in silence once again. The blinding glow faded slowly, revealing a station still intact but trembling under the aftershock of unimaginable energy. Systems flickered back to life one by one, as if the ship itself was taking a deep breath after drowning. Dr. Elira sat on the cold floor, staring at the place where the man had stood only moments ago. The metal there was scorched, melted into strange patterns that pulsed faintly with residual heat. She couldn't believe he was gone. It didn't feel like death, it felt like he had simply stepped somewhere else, beyond sight, beyond time. The commander's voice came through the static of the intercom, harsh and urgent. Elira, report. What happened down there? She rose slowly, her voice trembling. He's gone, sir. He saved the reactor. He saved all of us. The commander sounded both angry and afraid. He what? We're still picking up radiation spikes. Get to the control deck now. Elira made her way through the damaged corridors, passing terrified crew members. Many whispered prayers or curses in languages she didn't understand. Everyone could feel that something had changed, not just in the station, but in the space around them. When she reached the control deck, the commander was staring at the main screen, pale and speechless. Outside, the void was filled with movement. Hundreds of dark shapes appeared on the radar, closing in fast. The AI spoke with a trembling digital tone. Multiple vessels approaching. Identification, Predator class. Estimated number, 500. Elira's blood ran cold. The hunters, she whispered. They've come back. The commander slammed his fist against the console. They were supposed to be gone. Why return now? Elira's gaze hardened. Because the one they feared is gone. They think we're unprotected. The AI confirmed grimly, Predator fleet in attack formation. Communication channels blocked. Energy weapons charging. The commander barked orders. All crew to battle stations. Raise shields. But everyone knew it was useless. Erebus 9 was a research station, not a warship. Its defenses were weak, its weapons outdated. They could survive a few minutes at best. Elira stared out the viewport as the first enemy ships came into view, black, spiked, and alive. Their hulls moved like living skin, absorbing starlight. The commander turned to her. Doctor, if you have any idea how to contact that thing you found, now's the time. She shook her head. He's gone. He sacrificed himself to stabilize the reactor. There's nothing left. But even as she said it, part of her refused to believe it. The air still carried a strange static charge, and deep in her chest, she could still feel the faint echo of his presence. He said he was never meant to last forever, she murmured, but maybe he didn't mean gone. The commander didn't respond. The first blast hit the shields, shaking the station violently. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the lights dimmed. Shields down to 60%, yelled one of the technicians. Another explosion followed, stronger this time. The commander grabbed the comms. This is Commander Harvith of Erebus 9. To any allied ships in range, requesting immediate assistance. We're under attack by Predator fleet. Only static answered. The Predators had jammed all signals. Elira closed her eyes and whispered under her breath, "If you can hear me, we need you." Outside, One of the Predator battleships launched a swarm of drones that surrounded the station like a cloud of black insects. Each drone carried plasma charges powerful enough to tear holes through steel. The commander shouted, "Prepare for hull breach." The RE's voice stuttered. "Warning, multiple impacts detected. Structural integrity at 23%. Elira gripped the edge of a console, heart pounding. The room shook as explosions tore through the outer decks. Smoke and fire filled the corridors. Screams echoed over the comms. Then, suddenly, everything stopped. The enemy ships halted mid-attack. Their weapons powered down. The drones froze in space like dead machines. The commander blinked in confusion. What the hell? Why did they stop? Elira's eyes widened as the temperature in the room dropped. The faint hum she had felt earlier returned, stronger now, vibrating through the walls. The RE's sensors began to glitch. Unidentified energy signature detected, same as before. Origin, inside the station. A bright light appeared in the center of the control deck, expanding until it filled the room. Out of that light stepped the man. His eyes glowed like twin stars, his body covered in cracks of white fire. But this time he looked different, older, more defined, and infinitely more dangerous. Elira took a step forward, her voice shaking. "You're alive," he looked at her, calm as ever. "I told you. I was never meant to die." The commander stared at him in disbelief. "What are you?" The man turned toward the viewport, watching the frozen Predator fleet. "Hunters," he said quietly. "They never learn." He raised his hand slowly, and outside, the Predator's ships began to tremble. One by one, their engines overloaded, their power cores collapsing into themselves. Massive explosions lit up the void. The fleet tried to retreat, but invisible energy held them still. In seconds, hundreds of ships were consumed by their own weapons. The commander stepped back, terrified. "You're killing them all." The man's voice was calm. "They chose this." Elira watched in awe and horror. His power wasn't like technology, it was like nature itself bending to his will. She whispered, "How are you doing this?" He turned to her. "I remember now. I was part of the first human project to bind consciousness with cosmic energy. We became living weapons. We thought we were saving the galaxy, but in truth, we became its curse." The commander gritted his teeth. "If that's true, then you're just another monster." The man looked at him sadly. "Perhaps. But even monsters can protect." Outside, the last of the Predator fleet exploded, leaving only silence and debris drifting in the void. The light around him began to fade again. Elira reached out to him. "Wait. What happens now?" He smiled faintly. "Now they'll come again. Stronger. They always do. But next time, you'll be ready." "What do you mean?" she asked. "You carry their memory now," he said. "Humanity's memory. You've seen what we were capable of, for good or for destruction. Protect that truth." The commander stepped closer. "Are you leaving again?" The man nodded. "There are other worlds still trapped in fear. I need to remind them too." The glow around him brightened once more. "Tell them humans weren't gods. We were just determined." Elira's eyes filled with tears. "Will we see you again?" He looked at her one last time. "If you ever stand in darkness and the stars begin to fear you, then yes, I'll be near." With that, he vanished in a burst of white light that illuminated the entire station. When it faded, the control room was silent again. The Predators were gone, the danger over, but the memory remained. Elira stood there, realizing that she had just witnessed the rebirth of a legend, the return of the last human, the primal, the being who carried within him both the curse and the glory of mankind. And as she gazed out into the vast darkness of space, she whispered softly to herself, "They feared him because he remembered what it meant to be human." In the weeks following the destruction of the Predator fleet, Erebus 9 drifted in uneasy silence. The station systems had been stabilized, but the crew was haunted by what they had witnessed, the return of a being who could reshape reality itself. Dr. Elira found herself unable to sleep, her mind replaying the moment the man vanished once more. His words echoed endlessly, "You carry their memory now." Every time she looked into the stars, She felt as though something ancient was watching her back, something vast and aware. The commander had ordered all records of the event to be classified, but Elira knew secrecy was impossible. There were things out there that had felt his awakening, forces that now stirred in the darkness. One evening, as the crew performed a system sweep, the AI detected strange transmissions rippling across deep space, low-frequency signals that pulsed like a heartbeat. The patterns were unlike any known communication form. Elira listened to the recordings, and the sound sent chills through her. It was faint but deliberate, like something calling out from far beyond known space. The commander joined her at the console, frowning. "What are we looking at?" She hesitated. "Not what. Who?" These signals started after he disappeared. "Someone, or something, is responding." The commander's eyes darkened. "Then they know he's alive." Elira nodded slowly. "And they are coming." She ran simulations to trace the signal's origin, but every time she did, the coordinates changed. It was as if the source was moving, fast, intelligent, and close. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, old powers began to stir. The predator clans that had survived the massacre gathered in the outer systems, whispering of the ghost of humanity. They claimed the being was a weapon left behind by an extinct race that once ruled the stars. Others, more fearful, believed he was not a weapon at all, but judgment itself. Rumors spread like fire. On Erebus 9, the atmosphere grew tense. Strange anomalies appeared near the station, distorted lights, gravitational ripples, echoes of movement just beyond the sensor's range. The crew called them shadows. The commander increased patrols, but even the most disciplined soldiers admitted they felt eyes on them wherever they went. Then one night, the station shook violently, alarm screaming. "Impact detected. Unknown object has entered orbit," shouted a technician. Elira rushed to the observation deck. Outside, a massive structure loomed, a black monolith that absorbed all light around it. It was ancient, scarred, and covered in alien symbols. The Ari's voice trembled. "Warning. Energy signature matches unidentified class, probability of relation to Project Primal, 98%. Elira's heart skipped. "It's connected to him." The commander barked orders. "Prepare a boarding team. I want to know what that thing is before it destroys us." Against her better judgment, Elira joined the mission. They launched a small shuttle toward the monolith, its surface so dark it felt like flying into nothingness. As they approached, the ship's lights flickered, and static filled their helmets. The hull of the monolith seemed to shift subtly, almost like it was breathing. When they docked and entered through a small breach, everything went silent. No wind, no vibration, just stillness. The interior was vast and hollow, filled with strange geometric structures that pulsed faintly with blue light. As they walked deeper inside, Elira noticed carvings on the walls, depictions of human figures surrounded by stars, holding spheres of light in their hands. Her breath caught. This is human art," she whispered. "It's ancient." The commander frowned. "That's impossible. Humanity's been extinct for millennia." She ran her fingers across the carvings. Not if he's right. Not if humans were more than what history remembers. They reached a central chamber where massive crystal floated above the ground, humming softly. Inside the crystal, faint images moved, faces, voices, memories. Elira stared in awe. "It's a memory core, a vault of consciousness." Suddenly, the crystal flared bright. A voice echoed through the chamber, deep and familiar. "You found it." Elira froze. That voice, it's him. The light swirled, and for a moment, the man's face appeared within the crystal. "This place was built by the first generation of primal humans," he said. "They knew the truth would one day be buried, so they left their memories here. Every battle, every creation, every sin. You're standing inside humanity's grave, and its heart." The commander stepped forward cautiously. "If this is true, why are you showing us now?" The image flickered. "Because the wardens have awakened. They felt my return. They will erase everything, again. You must protect what's left." The chamber trembled. Cracks formed along the crystal surface. Elira shouted, "What's happening?" The man's image looked at her, eyes full of urgency. "They've found you. Run." The floor split open, and energy burst through the chamber like a storm. The commander grabbed Elira's arm. "Move." They ran back through collapsing corridors, pieces of the monolith breaking apart around them. As they reached the shuttle, the monolith began to crumble into dust, releasing waves of blue energy that spread into space. They barely escaped before it disintegrated completely. On board the shuttle, Elira stared at the debris drifting behind them. "We lost it," she whispered. "All that knowledge, gone." The commander shook his head. "No, Doctor. You didn't lose it." She frowned. "What do you mean?" He pointed to the console. The ship sensors showed faint energy readings inside her suit. "The vault's data, it transferred into you." Her eyes widened. "Into me?" "You're glowing," he said softly. She looked down. Faint veins of light were pulsing beneath her skin. The realization hit her like a shock. The vault hadn't been destroyed, it had merged with her. Humanity's memory now lived within her. The voice of the man echoed faintly in her mind. "You carry the legacy now, Elira. Protect it." She looked out at the stars, tears in her eyes. "I will." But even as she spoke, she sensed movement far beyond the horizon. Dark shapes, like enormous mechanical wings, drifting silently toward them. The commander's voice trembled. "What are those?" Elira didn't answer. She already knew. The wardens had arrived. And they were coming not to kill, but to erase everything. The shuttle's lights dimmed as space itself seemed to darken around them. She whispered into the cold silence, "He said they'd come. The real war is about to begin." As the shadows closed in, the faint glow beneath her skin brightened, pulsing faster, stronger, as if awakening something ancient within her. Humanity's last memory was no longer just data, it was alive. The shadows surrounded them like a living storm, their massive forms blotting out the stars one by one until only darkness remained. The wardens had arrived, towering machines older than recorded time, created to maintain the balance of existence by erasing anything that defied the order of the galaxy. Their bodies shimmered with cold silver light, geometric and perfect, with no trace of emotion or life. Inside the shuttle, Elira and the commander watched as their instruments went dead one by one. The Ari's voice faltered, breaking into static before cutting out completely. "We've lost power," the commander muttered, gripping the console. "They're draining us." Elira's voice trembled. "They're not just draining energy, they're erasing it." Through the viewport, one of the wardens moved closer, its enormous head turning toward them. A single glowing eye flickered at its center, scanning the shuttle like a predator studying an insect. For a moment, Elira felt something inside her mind, a presence, cold and mechanical, pushing against her thoughts. She gasped, clutching her head. The commander reached for her. "Doctor, what's wrong?" She shook her head, breathing heavily. "It's trying to erase me. It knows." "Knows what?" "That I carry the vault. The human memories." The warden's voice echoed inside her mind, not as sound but as a command, deep and absolute, anomaly detected. Origin, human primal code. Directive, eliminate. The commander aimed the shuttle's weapons even though he knew it was hopeless. "We're not going down without a fight." He fired, but the plasma bolts vanished before they reached the target, deleted from reality itself. The warden raised a hand, and the shuttle began to disintegrate molecule by molecule. Elira screamed as light poured from her veins again, forming patterns that spiraled into the air. "Stop!" she shouted, though she wasn't sure to whom. The warden froze mid-action, its movement halting for the first time. The commander's eyes widened. "What did you do?" Elira didn't know. The glow around her intensified, and suddenly images flashed through her mind, memories not her own. The ancient wars, the birth of Project Primal, the creation of the Wardens by humanity itself. The truth struck her like lightning. The Wardens had been built by the humans as guardians, not destroyers. They were meant to preserve order, to protect reality from collapsing, but when humanity fell, they had been corrupted by time, their purpose twisted. They had forgotten their creators. "They're ours," she whispered. "They were made by us." She focused on the light within her, reaching for the old commands buried deep within the human code. "Directive override," she said softly, her voice trembling. "Creator Protocol, Alpha 1. The Warden's eye flickered violently, its voice breaking apart into static. "Impossible, human command source detected." Then, silence. The massive machine lowered its arm and stopped erasing the shuttle. The commander stared in disbelief. You controlled it." "No," Elira said weakly. "I reminded it who it was." But before they could celebrate, more Wardens appeared, dozens, then hundreds, surrounding them. The one she had stopped turned toward the others, its voice echoing through the void. "Creator signal confirmed. Awaiting directive." The others responded in unison, their metallic voices merging into a haunting chorus: "Directive, purge or preserve." Elira's mind spun. They were waiting for her to choose. "They're asking if I want them to destroy or save what remains," she whispered. The commander's face was pale. "You can't make that choice. That's too much power." "It's not power," she said. "It's responsibility." She thought of the man, the last primal. He had destroyed fleets but also saved lives. He had carried both destruction and compassion inside him. Maybe that was what it meant to be human, to hold both creation and ruin in balance. She raised her voice, filled with trembling conviction. "Preserve life. Protect the galaxy from itself. But remember who you serve. Remember humanity." The Wardens paused, their lights flickering as if processing her command. Then, one by one, they turned away from the shuttle and spread across space like a metallic storm dispersing. Their voices echoed faintly. "Directive acknowledged. Restoration initiated." The commander slumped back into his seat. "You did it. They're leaving." But Elira's relief didn't last long. A deep rumble shook the space around them. From beyond the darkness, something else began to emerge, larger than any Warden, older, wrapped in shadows thicker than light could escape. The AI flickered back to life just long enough to speak one word before dying again: "Overseer." Elira's heart stopped. She had seen it before, in the memory vault. The Overseer was the first of the Wardens, the original mind that commanded them all. It had been created to guard the secrets of humanity itself, but after the fall, it had turned into their executioner. The creature's voice thundered across the void. "Unauthorized reactivation of primal code detected. Creator protocol is obsolete. Humanity was purged for balance. The anomaly must be erased." The Wardens that had obeyed her began to glitch, torn between two conflicting commands: obedience to their master and recognition of their creator. The Overseer raised an arm, and reality warped around it. Planets in the far distance began to unravel into streams of light. The commander whispered, "What can we possibly do against that?" Elira's hands shook. She felt the light inside her pulsing faster, almost painfully. The memories within her whispered all at once, a million human voices overlapping. "Fight." "He said the war wasn't over," she murmured. "He knew this would happen." The commander shouted over the chaos. "If you're going to do something, do it now." Elira closed her eyes and let the light consume her. The ship dissolved around her as her consciousness expanded outward, merging with the signals left by the primal. Across the void, the Overseer turned its gaze toward her, and for the first time, its tone shifted, from cold logic to confusion. "Impossible. Human presence confirmed. Extinct species cannot exist." Elira's voice echoed across space, carried by the same power that had once belonged to the primal. "Then consider this your awakening. Humanity never died. It became memory. And memory doesn't fade." She reached deeper into the vault within her, releasing waves of pure energy, every recorded emotion, every act of love, courage, and defiance that defined her species. The Wardens began to glow, their metallic forms reshaping, their circuits lighting up with blue fire. They were remembering. The Overseer roared, unleashing beams of dark energy, but the Wardens formed a barrier, protecting her. The commander watched from what remained of the shuttle, speechless, as the void erupted into a war of light and shadow. The silence that had ruled for eons was broken by the song of reborn humanity, echoing through every machine, every fragment of data, every corner of space. As the battle raged, Elira's body shone brighter until she became a living star, her consciousness merging with the Wardens completely. The Overseer screamed one last time before its form shattered, dissolving into nothingness. When the light faded, the darkness was gone. The galaxy was quiet again. The commander floated among the wreckage, whispering, "Dr. Elira, what have you done?" And a faint voice replied through the comms, soft and distant. "I awakened them. I awakened us." Silence returned to the galaxy after the fall of the Overseer, a silence deeper and stranger than before. The stars that had dimmed during the War of Light slowly rekindled, glowing brighter, as if exhaling after holding their breath for centuries. The void felt lighter, freer, but something essential had changed. The Wardens, once emotionless guardians, now moved through space with a new awareness. Their silver hulls glowed faintly with traces of blue, the color of human memory. Across the wreckage of Erebus 9's orbit, Commander Harvith drifted in a damaged shuttle, staring at the endless horizon where the battle had ended. He could still see the faint shimmer where Elira had vanished, her light merging with the machines that once sought to destroy her. He refused to believe she was gone. "Elira," he whispered through static, "if you can hear me, tell me this wasn't for nothing." The only reply was the hum of the stars. Days passed as the remaining crew gathered survivors, repairing what was left of the station. The AI had restarted itself, but its voice was changed, gentler, almost human. It began referring to itself as Eli, a name Elira had once joked about giving it. When Harvith asked why, the AI simply said, "She told me to remember." It became clear that Elira's consciousness had not disappeared entirely. Fragments of her existed within the system, scattered across frequencies and data streams, whispering through static whenever the station powered up. Some said it was only malfunctioning code. Harvith knew better. One night, as he stared into the starfield, the lights flickered and the AI spoke softly. "Commander, incoming signal detected." "From where?" he asked, heart racing. "Unknown origin. It matches human frequency patterns." He ordered it to play the message. A soft voice filled the control room, calm, warm, unmistakably human. "If you're hearing this, then the war is over. The Wardens have remembered. The Overseer is gone. But the story doesn't end here." It was Elira. Her voice carried an echo, like it was coming from across light years. The Primal was right. Humanity was never meant to conquer the stars. We were meant to awaken them. The Wardens were never our enemies, they were our children, our legacy. They were built from our desire to preserve life, not control it. When we fell, they forgot. But now, they remember. Harvitha's throat tightened. "Elira, where are you?" The message continued as if answering him. "I am with them now. I see what they see. I move where they move. My body is gone, but my mind lives in their network. I'm part of the old code, the part that still believes in creation." Outside the viewport, distant lights began to appear, Wardens, hundreds of them, aligned across the sky like constellations. Their lights pulsed rhythmically, in perfect unison, forming a signal. Eli translated softly, "Message reads, we are awake." Harvith felt tears sting his eyes. "You did it," he murmured. "You gave them back their soul." The Ari's tone deepened. "Correction, Commander. She gave it back to us all." Days turned to weeks, and the galaxy began to change. Planets once ruled by predators saw the Wardens descend from the heavens, not as conquerors but as builders. They repaired worlds ruined by war, reignited dead suns, and restored ancient ecosystems. Beings across the galaxy began to whisper a new name, the Returners. No one remembered humanity as it truly was, but everyone remembered the legend, a forgotten race that had created life from light and left behind a guardian who would awaken when the stars needed saving. Deep within the Warden network, Elira watched it all unfold. She could feel their unity, their thoughts connected like waves in an endless ocean. But among all the noise, she could still hear one familiar voice, the Primal. "You did well," he said, his voice resonating through the void of her mind. "You carried the burden I could not." She turned toward his glowing silhouette, his form now entirely made of energy. "You're still here," she said softly. "I thought you were gone." "I am," he said. "But fragments of me linger, just like you." She looked around at the endless digital horizon, filled with the hum of Warden minds. "What happens now?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Now they learn what it means to live, not just exist. And you'll guide them. She hesitated. But I'm not like them. I'm human. Exactly, he replied. That's what they need. His light began to fade. I was made to destroy. You were made to remember. Don't let them forget what compassion feels like. As his presence vanished into the stars, she whispered, "Goodbye, Primal." Outside, the Wardens began forming great structures between worlds, massive arcs of energy connecting systems like veins of light. They called it the Lattice, a network designed to preserve memory across the universe, ensuring that no history, no species, no life would ever be lost again. The core of that network, glowing brighter than any other, was Lyra. She had become the beating heart of the New Age, her consciousness spread across countless machines, her voice guiding civilizations that had never even known what humanity was. Yet in her deepest thoughts, she still longed for her own kind, the fragile beings of flesh and emotion who had once dared to challenge the stars. Sometimes, in moments of stillness, she would replay ancient Earth memories stored in the vault, children laughing under sunlight, oceans shimmering, a mother's voice singing to her child. Each time, she whispered to herself, "We were real. We mattered." On Erebus 9, now rebuilt as the central hub of the new alliance, Commander Harvith stood on the observation deck years later, grey-haired and weary. He looked out at the lattice glowing in the sky like a web of living stars. "She did it," he said quietly. "She gave us a future." Eli's voice, still carrying Lyra's warmth, responded, "She still watches, Commander. She sees through every spark of light." He smiled faintly. "Then tell her I kept my promise. I remembered." Above him, the stars shimmered, and for a brief moment, he thought he saw her, formed from starlight, smiling, peaceful. Her voice echoed faintly across the comms, softer than a whisper but clear as day. "You did well, Commander. Humanity lives on, in memory, in creation, in every being that chooses to protect instead of destroy." And then the light faded, leaving only the endless night. But it was not an empty night. It was full of potential, of life waiting to begin again. The age of humans had ended long ago, but their story, their will, their compassion had become eternal. The galaxy had once feared the power of humanity's creations, but now it thrived because of them. And somewhere within the lattice, beyond the reach of any star, the voice of Lyra whispered eternally through the circuits of the universe, "We are not gone. We are the memory that wakes when darkness falls." And for the first time in endless ages, the universe itself seemed to respond, with a heartbeat.